Chapter 2181. Although one's cultivation of vital energy is one's strength, and so is one's attainments in the sword and saber. However, there is another most important strength. This strength is often the key that can affect the outcome of a battle. That is the wisdom of a person's thoughts. This is also a part of strength, and it is the most important component of strength. Everyone seemed to have understood something as they chewed on these words. After answering Yao Ningming's question, the master of the Demon Emperor's Heavenly Oaths Department left immediately. This big shot was also a person of high status and power. The Oaths Department was a special department that was independent of the official system of the Demon Emperor's heaven. In the entire Demon Emperor's heaven, other than the Demon Empress herself, there were not many who could order this big shot around. This time, it was Yao Ningming, the unruly Grand Master, who asked personally. If it was someone else who wanted to inquire, not to mention whether they could find out, they might be accused of spying on the secrets of the heavenly oaths. It was just that before he left, he unexpectedly heard that Yao Ningming had given the constellation soul-stealing liquid to Chu Yang for consumption. His eyes actually lit up, and he said something unexpected. Worth it. Too worth it. As the only person who had watched the entire battle, it was believed that no one knew the depth of Chu Yang's potential better than him. A person who was only at the peak of celestial being level was able to defeat a sage. What a terrifying existence he was. There was no doubt that it was an absolutely shocking surprise. If one were to say that Chu Yang's battle record was still a little vague and not very specific, then it could be compared to an example that was easier to understand. The difference in cultivation between Chu Yang and Yu Qi was roughly equivalent to a first-grade supreme martial artist in the Chongtian continent suddenly exploding and killing Ning Tianya after a round of fierce battle. There was no doubt that the difference in strength was really that big. That was why everyone who heard this result was so shocked. No matter what methods Chu Yang used in the battle, whether they were despicable, shameless, or despicable, it was undeniable that this was war. This was a place where all kinds of plots and schemes were used normally. It was still the same saying. If one didn't use it, was one waiting to die? But there was one thing that couldn't be denied. Other than Chu Yang, looking at the battle records of all the people from ancient times to now, in the world, there was no one at the peak of celestial being who could defeat a saint. What future did such a person have? Was there even a need to ask? If a person like Chu Yang were to die, all the experts in the world would be glad that there was one less terrifying person who could threaten them. But if he were to live, the impact would be even greater. At the very least, if you were to befriend such a person, and even if you were indebted to him in the past, it would be equivalent to having a permanent protective talisman. This person was willing to brave dangers alone for the sake of his subordinates. For the sake of his brothers, he was willing to risk his life. For the sake of his friends, he was willing to risk his life. For the sake of a person he liked, even if it was Meng Wuya who was once his enemy, he was willing to gamble and fight to the death. Once this person reached the level of a sage, who in the world would dare to touch his friends? He believed that once he moved, he would not be able to eat or sleep in peace. Yao Ningming's investment in such a person was really worth it. As the saying goes, only by being willing to part with something can one obtain it. Otherwise, how could he be the sole heir to the throne of the Demon Emperor Heaven? He was too insightful. At this moment, the master of the Oath Department had a little reverence for His Highness Yao Ningming. It seemed that those rumors in the past were either smoke, self-humiliation, or the jealous slander of some people with ulterior motives. How could such an insightful and bold His Highness be as unbearable as the rumors? The master of the Oath Department had left too quickly. His thoughts were completely overshadowed by his own imagination. Yao Ningming did not know, nor did he think that the master of the Oath Department would think like this. To be honest, when he took out the constellation soul-capturing liquid, he did not have the slightest intention of investing. It was completely because he found Tan Tan pleasing to the eye, wanted to make friends, and was unwilling to let his friend die. That was all. The reason why Yao Ningming and Tan Tan could become friends was not only because of chance and coincidence, but also because of a very important similarity. Both of them had a pure heart that was ignorant of worldly affairs. Therefore, when these two idiots met, they were like tortoises and mung beans, and became idiots together. No one in the world could explain the two words fate and law clearly. Wuxia had already led Mo Yuntian's men to withdraw by now. Once this piece of news was confirmed, everyone was instantly relieved. Not only Meng Wuya's Dream Slayer army, but also by Yu Chun and the others led by Chu Yang. All felt that a big stone had been removed from their hearts. No matter what Wuxia would say after returning, the pressure from Mo Yuntian's side was completely gone for the time being. And this result, in the end, was not all because of Chu Yang's desperate battle. Everyone was well aware of this point. If it were not for Chu Yang, how could they have escaped from the previous 10,000 miles of pursuit? If it were not for Chu Yang's terrifying advancement along the way, how could they have the qualifications to negotiate with Wuxia face to face? The long pursuit of more than 180,000 miles, with danger at every moment and death at every step, was all because of Chu Yang alone, looking for a trace of possibility in the impossible, and looking for a trace of hope in the land of death. Just like that they rushed over, recalling the hardships along the way. Everyone felt as if they had had a bizarre and absurd nightmare. Even now, when they recalled the experience of that day, they often broke out in cold sweat and felt waves of lingering fear. Did he really come over just like that? Could it really come to an end for the time being? Everyone relaxed. Everyone had a surreal feeling. Some even wanted to cry. They really didn't know how they had come this far. If Chu Yang wasn't here to stabilize everyone's confidence, they probably wouldn't even need to be captured. They would have collapsed long ago, right? Meng Wuya finally woke up in the evening, which made everyone in the Dream Slayer army happy. After hearing about Chu Yang's matter, Meng Wuya was speechless for a long time. He did not say anything about his plans for the future, and only let out a long sigh. From today onwards, they would become vagabonds who couldn't return to their homes, and would wander around the world. Wuxia returned in defeat this time. It would be strange if she did not put all the blame on Meng Wuya when she returned. That day, he and the Dream Slayer army set foot in the Eastern Royal Heavens in the name of arresting rebels. Now he and his group had become rebels. The world was unpredictable, and the world was unpredictable. How could one know what would happen in the future? Right now he could only take one step at a time. After Meng Wuya woke up, regardless of whether it was his expression or his expression, it was as if he had aged a few thousand years in an instant. His originally smooth face was now filled with wrinkles almost overnight. His hair, which was originally as black as ink, had turned a lot more white overnight. Seeing Meng Wuya's change, everyone sighed. They knew how he felt, but no one tried to console him. It was not that no one wanted to, but they were in no position to do so. They also lacked the words to console him. They really did not know how to console him. Meng Wuya knew that he had been loyal to Mo Yuntian all his life. He had been loyal to Mo Yuntian through life and death. However, at the last moment, he was framed and accused of being a rebel because of a groundless accusation. From then on, the creed that he had believed in all his life had collapsed. The goal that he had fought for all his life had suddenly turned into nothingness. He had become an enemy. Who could accept this? On the afternoon of the third day, a group of people was driving a carriage. This was a city surrounded by mountains on all sides. Logically speaking, with the geographical environment surrounded by mountains on all sides, the city shouldn't be too big in theory. But this Luohua city was more than 10 million square meters. As long as you stood in the city, you could see the snowy scenery on the top of the mountains on all sides. But on the mountainside, you could see a myriad of colors. It was hard to tell what kind of flowers they were, but they were in full bloom on the mountainside of countless mountains on all sides. Moreover, the flowers in Luohua City didn't only bloom for one season. They bloomed in all 4 seasons. Spring orchids and autumn chrysanthemums were all beautiful. Spring was full of colors. Summer was even more colorful. Autumn returned to full of colors, and winter was still red and green. In short, there were all kinds of flowers blooming on the top of the mountains all year round. Whenever there was a gust of wind, petals would fall from the mountains and fall into the city. Every day of the year, there would be petals falling into the city for a long time. Therefore, it was named Luohua City. Every year, the falling petals were picturesque. Every month, the falling petals were poetic. Every day, the falling petals were like tears. Someone once wrote a poem about this. Looking at the falling petals in Luohua City, the falling petals stain the horizon. If the sky really has no tears, why bother to fall flowers in this city? As soon as everyone entered Luohua City, the strong fragrance of flowers that filled the air made everyone feel comfortable. It seemed that their hearts were also softened by the petals and the fragrance that filled their noses. It's so beautiful here. The two little girls, Chu Luer and Bai Shixian, were undoubtedly the most excited. The two girls' eyes were wide open, and their little faces were red. They were extremely excited. They raised their heads and opened their hands to catch the petals in the sky. Their laughter spread all the way. After being told about Chu Yang's current situation by Tan Tan, Chu Luer also returned to her playful character. How could she not enjoy herself in such a wonderful environment? Tan Tan was still sitting in the driver's seat, holding the horsewhip in his hand. He looked at the falling petals in the sky with disgust. He was speechless. Fuck. What kind of broken city is this? Why didn't anyone clean up the garbage? These floating petals are really an eyesore. As soon as they heard this, they immediately mocked him. Everyone who heard this sentence glared at him angrily. There was actually such a person in the world. He was so poetic, dreamlike, picturesque, and illusory. But in this guy's mouth, it actually became a pile of garbage? And an eyesore? Who are these people? Yao Ningming turned around and looked at the beautiful woman in white. She had stayed here for a long time before, so she knew this place very well. It was a 100% quiet place, and there was rarely such a big commotion. Could it be that Miss Z had offended someone? These people were here to find trouble. If that was the case, she definitely couldn't tolerate it. It's a fool who came. The kind that is even more foolish than you. It's really rare to find someone who is more foolish than you in this world. Coincidentally, there is one here. The beautiful woman in white couldn't help but laugh. But speaking of which, you are actually not too foolish. You are probably just lacking a bit of brain. But this person is purely foolish. There's such a thing. Yao Ningming's gaze was fixed. Although she didn't know whether the beautiful woman in white was praising her or belittling her, she was a little interested in the person who wanted to do that with her. What kind of person could actually get such a high evaluation? She really wanted to see who it was. Then she saw a large number of people, each holding a huge bouquet of bright red roses, tender and beautiful. Then there were some people carrying a rack, which looked like a construction team, and then they were busy in front of the falling flowers courtyard. Not long after, a large-scale high platform was erected in the air. It was 50 feet high, and it was more than 100 feet wide. Then, those who were holding the roses flew up and started to work on it again, teleporting, transporting, pulling out a fancy bouquet. Following which, the roses were arranged neatly one by one, making them even more stable. It could be seen that they had done this more than once. Everyone was very familiar with it, and they were very familiar with the business. Still, not long after, so many roses had all been put on the top of the rack, and in an instant, the area with a radius of several hundred feet was filled with a strong fragrance. All the bright red roses were arranged into 5 bright red words at the top of the rack. Miss Z, I like you. I want to have a heart-to-heart talk with you. When Yao Ningming heard this poem, she felt as if she was struck by lightning. Her internal organs were burning, and her liver and gallbladder were splitting. An inexplicable impulse to kill someone surged in her heart. It was not because of the love rival who had snatched her away, but because she was really disgusted by these 2 poems. There were many people who ruined poems in this world, but none of them could ruin it so thoroughly. Who on earth is this guy? Why is his class so exaggerated? Yao Ningming's face was distorted. She forcibly resisted the urge to vomit, and turned to ask the beautiful woman in white. How many people can have such extravagance? He is from the Tang family, the largest family in Luohua City. The beautiful woman in white was obviously having a hard time. She had more experience than the previous one, so her situation was better. But she still rolled her eyes and said, "This is the third son of the master of the Tang family. His name is Tang Yongwei, and people call him the third young master of the Tang family." The third young master of the Tang family? Yao Ningning rolled her eyes disdainfully. What a waste of a good name. This guy is like a stupid bird. He actually wants to pursue Miss Z. Alas, the world is so big, and there are so many strange things. By the way, how did he meet Miss Z? The beautiful woman in white couldn't help laughing. She said, "The world is unpredictable. This guy is also a weirdo." That day, Miss Z went out to buy some special medicinal materials and happened to meet Mr. Tang. When Mr. Tang saw Miss Z, he was shocked and fell head over heels for her on the spot. Since then, this situation has been repeated many times. Yao Ningning said with a little jealousy, "This guy's feelings are so fragile. Did he fall in love at first sight?" It is said that the third young master of the Tang family has many beautiful women in his family. Now he has more than 20 wives and more than 300 concubines. He calls himself the third young master Tang, who is lascivious but not obscene, romantic and elegant. The beautiful woman in white sighed. "Since I saw Miss Z that day, this person has been coming here almost every day. Every time he comes, he brings so many flowers. In just 1 month, he has spent tens of thousands of purple cloud coins just to buy these roses. Fortunately, he is in Luohua City, where roses can be found. But I think in a few days, no matter how much money he has, he won't be able to find roses. What a rich man," Yao Ningning said disdainfully, and then stomped her feet angrily. Damn the nouveau riche. That's not all. It is said that since the third young master of the Tang family saw Miss Z, he has been obsessed with her. After returning home, he didn't like any of his concubines. He even inexplicably lost his sexual ability. The beautiful woman in white blushed slightly, but she couldn't help laughing. What? So exaggerated? So this guy is determined to win Miss Z's heart, isn't he? Whether it is for himself or for that thing, he has to. Yao Ningning's eyes widened. She felt more and more incredulous. It seems so. The beautiful woman in white smiled faintly. But I reckon no, I don't need to reckon, that he won't stand a chance. Even you don't stand a chance, much less him. Yao Ningning breathed a sigh of relief. Aunt, you are right. If I lose to this stupid guy, I'll just kill myself. It hurts my self-esteem too much. Tang Yongwei had finished reciting the poem. Seeing that there was still no movement inside, he finally couldn't help but feel a little discouraged. After waiting for a while, he said, "Miss Z, do you want me to compose another poem for you?" There was still a long silence. It seemed that Zi Xieching had made up her mind not to speak. Tang Yongwei finally felt a little bored at this moment. Besides, he had been racking his brains for so long, and there was no poem at all. So he turned around unsteadily, sighed, and was about to leave when he suddenly saw Yao Ningning. At this moment, Yao Ningning was staring at him with her mouth agape. Obviously, she couldn't understand this guy's stupid behavior. Tang Yongwei frowned. He actually walked over and scolded Yao Ningning. "What are you looking at? Haven't you seen a rich person before?" Yao Ningning was stunned by the question. She couldn't help but stretch her neck. In the Demon Emperor's heaven, it seemed that this was the first time a certain grand prince had met someone who dared to say such words to the Demon Emperor. Although this Tang Yongwei didn't know Yao Ningning's true identity, but to be able to say such words, it was obvious how awesome he was. "I see rich people every day, but it's really my first time seeing such a stupid rich person." Yao Ningning suddenly remembered that someone had said this to her before, so she blurted it out. Chapter 2189. The sky was black, and the lightning was black. Everything was black, and it was even darker than the boundless night sky. When one first reached the Sage Realm, there was a special law of the heavenly Tao that confirmed that no one could move in the city he was in. Even sages were no exception. This was the unique power of a Sage Realm expert, or rather it was a symbol. As far as martial artists were concerned, there was always the possibility of being disturbed and going berserk when breaking through to any level below the Sage Realm. This was something that could not be avoided no matter how amazing the mental state of the cultivator was. or how good the cultivation method was. However, when one broke through to the sage realm, there was no need to worry about this at all. The opponent one had to face was no longer a human, but the heavens and earth. Fighting with others was endless fun. Fighting with oneself was endless fun. Fighting with the heavens and earth was the only way to survive. The sage tribulation was the most dangerous at the beginning. In other words, although one did not have to worry about being disturbed by enemies, it was also not easy for one to cross this hurdle. Because at the delicate moment when one was breaking through to the sage realm, because there was the heavens and earth as witness, one's aura was boundless and majestic. But at the same time, one had to bear twice the heavenly might. This level of danger was basically equivalent to death. The beautiful woman in white was the best example. Although she had experienced this process before, and her cultivation had already surpassed this level by more than a level, she could not move in the face of the heavenly might. As for Yao Ningning, she could not move even more. The two of them just stood there. Although they could not hear anything, they could clearly feel the heavens and earth trembling. It was as if they could not see anything, but when they closed their eyes, they could acutely feel the space being torn apart. The two of them were worried about the person who was breaking through, but they also smiled bitterly. They did not expect to come here today to accompany someone in the sage tribulation, and they were just standing there. This encounter really made them speechless to the extreme. Even if they were a little further away, at least they could walk around in a small area, or lie down for a while, or sit down and drink tea. But now look at what's happening. Of course, the situation of these two people was not the most miserable, because the most miserable person was the Tang family's third young master. After General Tang left the Falling Flowers villa, he had only taken a few steps when the heavenly might arrived. Duke Tang Yang, who had a weak cultivation base and had never seen such a terrifying heavenly might, was so scared that he screamed and ran away. Chapter 2190. A heavenly punishment that was many times more terrifying than Zi Xiecheng's breakthrough. The whole process lasted for a day and a night. In this one day and a night, there were many yellow and white things on the streets of Luohua City. Those were people or beasts who were so frightened that they lost control of their bowels. As for people's homes, they didn't know, but there were probably a lot of them. On the day of the heavenly punishment, Chu Luo and Tan Tan were still waiting quietly by Chu Yang's bed. Although Tan Tan had been informed by the sword spirit that Chu Yang was safe, it didn't seem like he was fine to be in this state. It was hard for him to get rid of his worry. Suddenly a strong force hit them. Even with their cultivation, they couldn't help but feel dizzy. When they regained their consciousness, they found themselves on the street outside the room. In the next moment, the two of them realized that everyone in the restaurant seemed to have come out. Everyone was standing on the street with a confused look on their faces. Even the shopkeeper, the waiter, and even the chef were all standing there, with a confused look on their faces. In the whole restaurant, it seemed that only Chu Yang was still inside. Even Meng Wuya, who had just regained consciousness after being seriously injured, was lying on the street. It was as if there was an irresistible and invisible force that was doing all this. No one could escape. Immediately after, the unprecedentedly crazy and violent lightning fell densely above the inn, and then entered the inn. Everyone was outside, unable to move at all. It wasn't that they didn't want to move, but they really couldn't move. Chu Luo and Tan Tan were burning with worry. They tried their best to resist the heavenly punishment. With Chu Yang's unconscious state, how could he face the heavenly punishment? Wouldn't that be a dead end? But no matter how hard they tried, it was still like ants trying to shake a tree. It was completely useless. In fact, it wasn't just the two of them. Everyone wanted to help, but they didn't have the strength to do so. After a while, everyone's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Damn it. It seemed that this was the first time they had seen such a thing. He was seriously injured and unconscious, lying motionless on the bed like a mummy. How could he still advance? How could he provoke the heavenly punishment? And it was such a terrible heavenly punishment. Wasn't this a little too strange? Wasn't this a little too fantastical? Wasn't this a little too much? At this moment, everyone was worried about one thing. How is this guy going to survive? The heavenly punishment had to be resisted. But the thing that really shocked everyone happened very, very unexpectedly. So many black lightning bolts fell into the room. But it didn't cause any shock at all. Tremble. Not even a little bit. He left dejectedly with his head in his hands. How can I not believe it? It's too scary. This girl is too evil. This demon king can't afford to offend her. But he can hide. Everyone also felt their hair stand on end. They shuddered. Such a sneaky way of using poison was truly impossible to guard against. Even as a saint-level expert, Meng Wuya sighed with emotion. The last time he had seen Chuluer's poison hadn't had any immediate effect on an expert of Heavenly Man realm or above. But now Tan Tan, who was at the peak of Heavenly Man realm, could be subdued without him realizing it. In fact, she could even handle it with ease, and still had strength to spare. It could be seen that Chuluer's progress during this period of time was extremely fast. In the room, after a very detailed interrogation, everyone finally confirmed one thing. Chuyang really didn't know anything about his advancement. This guy was really sleeping peacefully. He didn't know anything from the beginning to the end. After confirming this matter, everyone hung their heads in dejection and listlessness. Motherfucker! When was it not earth-shattering, life-threatening, which heavenly punishment didn't have countless near-death experiences before barely surviving? But when it came to him, well, he passed it while unconscious. Was there still justice in this? Everyone's faces were filled with sighs and indignation. People really couldn't be compared to each other. Chuyang really didn't know anything, because the tribulation space had finally opened again. And now, the tribulation space was even more powerful than before. It couldn't even be mentioned in the same breath as before. When the heavenly punishment fell, it was directly absorbed by the tribulation space. So throughout the whole process, Chuyang didn't feel any tremors at all. He was really just sleeping. But after the heavenly punishment this time, all the injuries on Chuyang's body had really disappeared. He had completely recovered his health. Of course, Chuyang's ignorance this time also caused some delays. If he was awake, he would naturally be able to sense that the person breaking through on the other side was Zi Xiecheng. And Zi Xiecheng would also sense him. But he was completely unconscious. Seeing that everyone had left, Chuyang couldn't hold it in any longer. He closed the door and entered the tribulation space with a thought. When he got closer to take a look, he saw that there was a strange seal on it. It was the white and black light that was emitting from it. Vaguely, an enormous amount of energy was about to burst out. What is this? Why does it feel so familiar? Chuyang thought for a long time. Then he suddenly remembered. Isn't this the reason why I took out that strange fruit? Was it the heaven and earth arcane yellow fruit? Could it be that the seal had loosened? I can open it now. He reached out and touched it. He found that the seal was still unbreakable. But Chuyang had already sensed that there seemed to be a little gap in this seal. With his current strength, he should be able to break it in one fell swoop, if he went all out. Thinking of the countless magical fruits inside, Chuyang salivated. But, thinking about it again, this was definitely not the time to enjoy them. Since he had already confirmed that he could break the seal, he could come and take them at any time. He was not in a hurry, so he planned to turn around and leave. It didn't matter if he left, but the three medicine spirits were anxious. Their small hands hugged his leg at the same time. They raised their heads. Their faces were full of longing. Chuyang looked down and couldn't help but smile helplessly. Little guys, I also want to take out the things inside. But those things are very magical. Once I take them out, the spiritual energy inside will start to dissipate. I can't stop it at all. I have to think of a way. If I take them out now, and the spiritual energy dissipates for no reason, it will be a pity. Don't you think so? The three little guys stared at him. They seemed to understand his words. Finally, they slowly let go of their hands. Chuyang heaved a sigh of relief. I can finally get away. I can't beat these three little guys, nor can I scold them. In fact, I don't even dare to show an unhappy expression. Fortunately, these three little guys are very reasonable. Otherwise, it would have been difficult to get away today. The sealed tribulation space reopened, and Chuyang was the most worried in this space. Naturally, Wu Qianqian and Tai Butian were the two girls. Wu Qianqian and Taibu Tian were now in a separate courtyard. But they still couldn't go out. Although they didn't lack food and other things, the two girls couldn't feel at ease if they didn't see Chu Yang come in. Especially after that terrifying spiritual energy storm, the two girls' cultivations had greatly improved. They felt that they would no longer be a burden to Chu Yang, so they couldn't help but anxiously look forward to him. So much time has passed. So why hasn't Chu Yang come in yet? Did something happen in this room again? The two were so worried that they couldn't sleep. Although the sword spirit came in a few days ago and said that Chu Yang was completely fine, the two were still worried. As long as they didn't see Chu Yang safe with their own eyes, no one's words would count. The sword spirit was no exception. Even though they knew that the sword spirit was trustworthy and believed that the sword spirit wouldn't lie to them, they still couldn't help but worry. Didn't you say that Chu Yang is fine? Why hasn't he come in yet? What is he doing outside? Wu Qianqian looked a little impatient. Yes, logically speaking, it doesn't make sense. Taibu Tian frowned. Could it be that he is being hunted down too hard? Or, it can't be like that. If he was really being hunted down too hard, he would have come in long ago to avoid trouble. Wu Qianqian still didn't know that the space of tribulations had been sealed. Even Chu Yang couldn't enter. She wrinkled her nose and snorted. I think this guy might have met some little beauty again and left us behind. Well, maybe he met Emo Qinggu. Taibu Tian nodded. That makes sense too. Looking at the time, Emo Qinggu should have already grown up by now. Can? Wu Qianqian's eyes widened. Suddenly, she burst into laughter. Can what? My Majesty? Hearing this, Taibu Tian's face turned red. She knew that she had said something wrong, but she still said angrily, Girl, why are your thoughts so unhealthy? What nonsense are you thinking every day? Have you been led astray by someone? Wu Qianqian laughed. I don't know who started thinking nonsense first. If we're talking about being led astray, it's you who was led astray first. Taibu Tian was even more embarrassed. She pounced forward and grabbed Wu Qianqian. Instantly, the two girls laughed together. While they were fooling around, Taibu Tian suddenly felt something strange. It was as if there was a big warm hand suddenly placed on her perky buttocks. This big hand was extremely naughty. After touching it for a while, it actually didn't seem to be satisfied. It rubbed it again, and then rubbed it even more. Then it didn't stop. Then a voice laughed lasciviously. Two beauties. What are you playing so happily about? I wonder if I can join in? You don't mind if I join in, right? When the two girls heard this voice, they couldn't help but stiffen at the same time. Then they reacted and shouted, Chu Yang. Suddenly, they jumped up and hugged him tightly, completely disregarding their image and manners. For a moment, they actually cried tears of joy. Sure enough, he was fine. He was really fine. It seemed that even Chu Yang was shocked by the two girls' overreaction. His lust was almost extinguished. The two of them hugged him tightly and talked endlessly. Chu Yang's heart was filled with a warm feeling that he hadn't felt for a long time. In this world, only his family would be so worried about him. After a long time, the two girls' emotions gradually stabilized. How's the outside environment now? Is it better? Taibu Tian straightened up from Chu Yang's arms and asked with a red face. It's more than better. It's basically stable. I believe it should be fine in a short time. Chu Yang smiled. Chapter 2193. Why don't you go out now? Is there anything else? Taibu Tian frowned and asked. Chu Yang was speechless for a moment, but he was too embarrassed to reveal his true intentions. He said angrily, How dare you question my most correct decision? You deserve a beating. He dragged her over unreasonably, pressed her on his knee, and slapped her buttocks heavily. Immediately, her soft buttocks rippled. Chu Yang was enraged. He couldn't help but put his hand on it and gently rubbed it. Taibu Tian was embarrassed and angry. An inexplicable feeling rose in her body. She instantly understood. She said in a trembling voice, Put me down. Chu Yang smiled evilly and said, A bold woman like you who dares to question your husband must be severely punished. See how I'll treat you with a big stick. Let's see if you'll beg for mercy or not. Let's see if you'll surrender under the might of my stick. Wu Qianqian saw the situation. How could she not know what Chu Yang was planning? She only felt her face burning. She turned around and fled. At this time, she was not in the mood to care about sisterhood. She didn't expect to be caught by Chu Yang. Just as she was about to struggle, her fragrant lips were suddenly blocked. A soft tongue went in, and in an instant, she felt weak all over. On the other side, Tai Butian's breasts were already half exposed. In such a short period of time, her clothes had already been taken off by Chu Yang. It could be seen just how thirsty Minister Chu was right now. Indeed, he had been really stifled all this way. The whole room was full of spring, for a long, long time. A certain king of hell lay on the bed in satisfaction. Beside him were two beautiful women who couldn't move at all. They looked at him shyly and helplessly. After a long while, Chu Yang went to see the others. Brother whose current strength had completely recovered during this period of upgrade in the tribulation space. He was even stronger than before. As for the others, Wang Dao Lightning Snake, and the others, they had also advanced by 2 or 3 levels. Especially Wang Dao. There was still a large amount of hidden spiritual yuan in his body. Perhaps it was because Chu Yang had advanced too quickly, which had indirectly caused his potential to soar. In the future he could expect great success. As for Lightning Blade and the others, their cultivations were originally much higher than Tai Butian and the others. Therefore, the increase in their cultivation levels this time was relatively smaller. As for Huyan Aobua and the others, their foundations were slightly weaker, and they were about the same as Tai Butian and Xia Danqiong. After this time, they had all advanced by 7 levels. Now the weakest was Xia Danqiong's wife, Madame Mei, who had already reached the peak of the heaven stage. The other women had all advanced to the saint stage. Chu Yang was overjoyed. This time, it was equivalent to adding a lot of experts out of thin air. Chapter 2194. I'm serious. Even if I go, it might not be useful. Chu Yang helplessly walked out while smiling bitterly. It will definitely be useful if you go. We believe in your methods. The two said in unison. I didn't know that I had such methods. If she really ignores me at that time, how embarrassing would that be? Chu Yang made a final effort. Absolutely not. I have full confidence in you, senior martial brother. Tan Tan was in high spirits. He said as if he wanted to see the world in chaos. Ning, do you want to make a bet with me? Yao Ningning was confused. Bet? What bet? I bet that Chu Yang will definitely be received when he gets there. Do you believe it? Moreover, he will be treated as a distinguished guest. Do you believe it? It's not impossible for that girl to throw herself into his arms. My senior martial brother's charm is really unstoppable. Tan Tan raised his head and talked nonsense. The more he talked, the more he talked. What? I absolutely don't believe it. Yao Ningning shook his head like a rattledrum. Brother Tan, you don't know. That girl has always been cold. She doesn't even treat acquaintances well, let alone a stranger whom she has just met. Even if she can receive him, it's absolutely impossible for her to throw herself into his arms. You don't believe it? Then let's make a bet? Tan Tan laughed. Tan Tan had always been full of confidence in Chu Yang. It had already reached the point of blindness. This feeling that had been cultivated since childhood made Tan Tan think that even the heavenly imperial court's Emperor 1, Empress 1, and only sage monarch were all trash compared to Chu Yang. Let's make a bet. Yao Ningning shouted unconvinced. If it's really like this, I'll accept any bet. Tan Tan rolled his eyes and said, there's no need to make a big bet. The loser must gather all of us after he comes back. Then he must make a self-reflection in front of everyone. And the content of the reflection will be, I'm a pig. I'm a stupid pig. I won't be called Yao Ningning in the future. I'll change my name to Zhu Ningning. As long as the content is not less than 100 words, I'll pass. Yao Ningning was very dissatisfied. Brother Tan, I haven't lost this bet yet. You'll definitely lose this time. So you won't be called Tan Tan in the future, but Zhu Tan. Tan Tan laughed and raised his head. I'll lose? How could I lose? With my senior brother's unparalleled ability to pick up girls, how could I lose? TSK. Your idea is the biggest joke in the world, the great Tang of the world. Yao Ningning was also full of confidence. Nothing is absolute in this world. Let me tell you, you're definitely going to lose this time. The two idiots chattered nonstop all the way. Chu Yang's arms were tightly held by the two as they walked forward. They had already walked out of the hotel and out of the main street. The two sides of the gate separated and bounced back after hitting the wall. While bouncing back, the gate was still drifting back and forth with a whoosh. Oh my gosh! Wasn't this reaction a little too intense? Yao Ningming and Tang Yongwei's eyebrows twitched wildly, and their necks were also very long. Their faces were full of astonishment and disbelief. The door of the courtyard opened, and inside was a quiet and secluded path. At its widest part, it could only allow two people to walk side by side. There were flowers of all colors on both sides, and petals constantly fell from the trees on both sides, landing on the flower path, forming a flower path that was filled with a strong fragrance. A white figure appeared in a flash, and at the end of the path, it was as if a graceful figure had appeared out of thin air. Black hair like clouds, white clothes whiter than snow, indescribably magnificent, and inexhaustible beauty. At this moment, that peerless beauty was looking up at the crowd, but her eyes seemed to be searching for something, faintly revealing eagerness and anxiety. Chu Yang deeply gazed at her. Their gazes met, and both of them trembled a little. Although these two people didn't open their mouths to speak, but invisibly thousands of words were contained in the meeting of their gazes. You finally came. I've been waiting for you for a long time. You're really here. I've been looking for you for a long time. Then, that white-clothed figure drifted out like a gust of wind. Chu Yang restrained the churning emotions in his heart, and took a step forward, and said with a smile, "It's really you, it's really you." That white figure didn't answer, and only rushed over as if she was flying. Tan Tan looked on from the side, and was tongue-tied. He was dumbstruck, and his eyebrows were raised in exultation. She's coming, she's coming. She's throwing herself into my arms. Yao Ningming and Tang Yongwei's 4 eyeballs had already popped out, and were about to pop out of their eye sockets. Is Big Brother's charm really so terrifying? Can he really make a beauty throw herself into his arms? I've seen her the moment I came. Moreover, she's flying out to greet me. Moreover, looking at this posture, she's definitely going to rush into my arms. She's throwing herself into my arms, so entering my room is naturally not a problem. But this doesn't make sense, right? Under the gazes of the three of them, under Chu Yang's agitated welcome with open arms, Zi Xieching rushed over like a whirlwind, and then scolded loudly, "You bastard!" Then, she punched Chu Yang's lower abdomen fiercely and accurately. Ouch! Poor Minister Chu was just fantasizing about the beauty throwing herself into his arms, and the romantic scene of him being filled with soft, warm and fragrant jade. It's a good thing that he was about to enter the room later. But who would have thought that he would actually receive such a fierce and sharp punch? Upon hearing that, Tan Tan was overjoyed and laughed heartily. He was so happy that he danced and said, "Senior sister-in-law's eyes are as sharp as torches, and you have seen more than others." Are you speaking the truth? You aren't just saying that, right? Zi Xieching swallowed a mouthful of saliva with difficulty and said, "How can that be? Every word is true, from the bottom of my heart." After saying that, she reacted and said angrily, "That is your senior sister-in-law? Don't talk nonsense. Others don't understand my handsomeness. Only senior sister-in-law knows me, understands me, and understands me. What regrets do I have in life to have a confidant?" Zi Xieching was sweating profusely, and was speechless for a long time. Sigh. Only the heavens know how much I've gone against my conscience and morals when I said those words just now. But this little one is Chu Zhao's only junior brother. If I go against my conscience and morals, then so be it. Who told me to get involved? While Tan Tan was extremely surprised and sighed, while Yao Ningming and the Tang clan's 3rd young master were trembling with fear, the three of them finally stepped into the courtyard. There was a pavilion in the middle. There were flower racks around the pavilion, and a stone table below. There were a few seats. The seats made of warm jade were clean and spotless. Obviously, the owner had stayed here many times and cleaned it every day. That was why it could be so clean. Take a seat first. I will go make tea and entertain the guests. Zi Xieching smiled faintly. We don't dare. Yao Ningning bowed. The Tang clan's third young master also rolled his eyes. When had the two of them received such a warm reception from Zi Xiqing? In that instant, they actually couldn't get used to it. Sit. Zi Xiqing's eyes lit up. The two of them instantly sat upright in their seats with a plop sound. They didn't dare to move an inch. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.